If you ever thought healthy ice cream isn't possible, then you clearly haven't tried the Ninja Creami yet. I am obsessed with this machine because it makes making healthy ice cream a breeze. If you haven't seen my full review of this machine, you can check it out here. I'll also link it in the description box down below. But today we are making 3 healthy ice cream flavors, one of which will hopefully trick my husband into becoming a bean lover, because yes, we are putting beans in ice cream again. But that one's coming later. To start off, I actually asked on Instagram what ice cream flavors you guys would want to see, and there was an overwhelming amount of votes for chocolate. Now, I have done chocolate ice creams in the past, quite a few actually, but nothing that's been like a super chocolatey, chocoholic kind of chocolate ice cream. And you all seem to be craving some serious chocolate flavor, so that's what we're gonna make first. Now, this recipe is inspired by one I did last year where we turned tofu into ice cream, and that ice cream turned out really well. But I do remember it got really icy after a few days in the freezer. Even with a traditional ice cream churner, you don't really have a way to make it soft again without just letting it sit out and melt a bit. So with this machine, it really is magic. You're basically taking a solid frozen ice block and turning it like, well, creamy. So I am following a similar recipe to the one I made last year, but even more chocolatey because you all want that serious chocolate flavor. So I'm actually just gonna start with a package of silken tofu. For this recipe, we do wanna use silken tofu because it is gonna give a much better ice cream-like consistency. So there are 2 kinds of silken tofu. You can get the refrigerated one or the shelf-stable one. I will link some down below as well, but it shouldn't really matter between those 2 as long as it is called silken tofu. And to start off, I'm just gonna use half of this package. And to that, we are going to add maple syrup, but you can use a different sweetener if you prefer. You could use something like regular granulated sugar or even something like pureed dates if you want to keep it more healthy and more whole food based. I'm also going to add some cocoa powder. Of course, this is going to be essential for a chocolate flavor. And now I'm just going to add some melted chocolate chips. Now, this is going to be a little bit less healthy than if you were to leave out the chocolate chips, but this is really going to amp up that chocolate flavor. So if you want an ultra decadent chocolatey ice cream, I really recommend adding in some type of melted chocolate. So to melt that chocolate, I'm just gonna pop it into the microwave in 20-second intervals, stirring between each time in the microwave. And then we're also gonna need a pinch of salt, and then just add that melted chocolate right into your blender. Now, of course, I will leave the full recipes in the description box down below, but I do highly recommend that you taste as you go and kind of adjust the flavors to your taste preferences. Some people are gonna like a much sweeter ice cream than others, so go ahead and taste it after this first blend, and then we'll just pour that into our creamy container and into the freezer. The next flavor I'm going to make is going to be one of my favorite flavors, and that is salted caramel. I love, love, love the flavor of salted caramel, and I love sweet potato ice cream, so I thought let's combine those 2 together. So we're going to be using these beautiful Japanese sweet potatoes as the base of this ice cream. I have done a lot of sweet potato ice creams in the past. I've used different types of sweet potatoes, so if you can only find the orange ones, those should work as well, but they do have kind of a different flavor. I thought that these white fleshed sweet potatoes would make a really good vanilla flavor, and of course the color is going to be perfect for that as well. So if you can find the sweet potatoes with the purple exterior and white interior, then those are going to be perfect for this recipe. Now, sweet potatoes actually make an amazing base for ice cream because they are naturally sweet when they're baked. So these sweet potatoes have been previously roasted at 400 degrees for about 45 minutes, and now we're just going to pop them, take off the skin first, and then pop them into the blender. So I'm using about 200 grams of these sweet potatoes, and then we're gonna add just over a cup of soy milk. I used about 1 1/4 cups in total. Of course, some maple syrup or sweetener of your choice. We're also gonna add a bit of vanilla powder. I am obsessed with this for any kind of dessert that needs a vanilla flavor without that alcohol taste. So traditional vanilla extract is gonna have a little bit of alcohol flavor, which I find cooks off when you use it in something like a baked good, or even if you cook it on the stovetop. But since we are just blending this and then putting it straight into the freezer, I really like to use this vanilla powder because it is just pure vanilla flavor, no alcohol taste. And then lastly, just a bit of this caramel extract. Now, this is really, really strong in flavor. So if you have the same one on, a little goes a long way. And even if you don't have this extract, you could make a different flavor of ice cream that is similar, something like a vanilla base. You could do like a chocolate chip here, chocolate chip cookie dough. You can really modify this depending on what you have on hand or what your flavor preferences are. So I will leave those modifications in the description box as well. And so we're just gonna blend this up, and again, taste it as you go and adjust it as needed. And lastly, I have saved what is hopefully going to be the best recipe for last. This one I have been wanting to experiment with for a while now, and that, my friends, is for chickpea ice cream. Now, I have done another bean ice cream recipe on this channel, and that actually turned out quite well considering it was just a random experiment. So today we are moving right along and trying another bean recipe with my favorite of all the beans, the chickpea. And we are really putting this recipe to the test today because I'm going to make it into one of my husband's favorite flavors, pistachio, but my husband really doesn't like beans and especially doesn't like chickpeas. So if he loves this ice cream, it is just going to blow his mind that it is actually made of chickpeas. So let's start off first. We're gonna add a cup of chickpeas to the blender. Now, I did cook these chickpeas from scratch, so they are extra soft because when you cook them yourself, you can control how long you cook them for and make them a little bit softer if you want. So we're just gonna rinse these off and then add them to the blender. And then to that, we're gonna add a half a cup of soy milk or any milk you like, as well as a half a cup of maple syrup. And now we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of pistachio butter. I did see this ingredient on Amazon and thought that it would just be a lot easier than using whole pistachios and trying to get those to grind into a very soft consistency that we need for ice cream. But it is a bit pricey, and as I was looking up other pistachio ice cream recipes, I did see that a lot of people do just use the whole nut instead. So if that's all you can find, or if that's what you prefer to use, I do think that would work. You'll just need to play around a little bit with the measurements to get it to be the same consistency as we have here. So for this recipe, I'm just gonna start with a heaping tablespoon of the pistachio butter, and we'll add more as needed. And lastly, I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of almond extract here. This is commonly used in pistachio ice cream recipes, but we do not want too much because the flavor can be really overpowering. So I'm just gonna start with slightly less than 1/4 teaspoon and see how that tastes. And then of course a little pinch of salt as well, and then we will blend this up. So now the best part, let's go ahead and churn these ice creams and give them a taste. Starting first with our sweet potato caramel ice cream. I'm so excited for this one. Let's give this a taste. The caramel flavor is so good with the sweet potato. I did forget to add salt though. I was gonna add a little flaky sea salt in here. I don't even know if this needs a respin. It's so creamy. I do like chunks in my ice cream though. I feel like it needs like some brownie bits or walnuts, something with a little texture. So maybe we'll do a mix in, but overall the flavor is friggin' delicious. I even think some ribbons of date caramel would be really good in here to get a little more texture variety and a little more flavor. Like if you had some dates, you could put them in a blender with some plant milk and make a little date caramel and then add that as your mix in. The salt definitely brings out the flavor though. And the chocolate chips, I mean, who doesn't love chocolate chips? Next, let's try this tofu chocolate ice cream. Okay, the texture of this one is really throwing me off. Why is it so soft already? I did the light ice cream setting and I only let it sit out for about 5 minutes before churning it. But it's really soft, like already back to the pudding consistency. So why is it so soft here? The taste is incredible though.
as to be expected with like melted chocolate in there. Of course, it's gonna be delicious. I also think peanut butter would be a really good addition. I did that in the chocolate tofu ice cream I made last time, and it was excellent. So if you are a fan of chocolate and peanut butter together, definitely add some peanut butter in here. Let's see if I can refreeze this a bit and then put it in a cone.
Oh yes, much better. This is looking a lot more like regular ice cream. And lastly, let's go ahead and churn this chickpea pistachio ice cream.
It's a little bit strong with the almond extract. I could have used a little bit less, maybe an 1/8 teaspoon would be better. But other than that, I think it's really good. I cannot taste the chickpeas at all. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a slight graininess in the texture, but honestly, it's not that noticeable. Not to me anyway. I think the only other thing I would add would be some chopped up pistachios as a mix-in. Like, you know, with a pistachio ice cream, sometimes there's little chunks of chopped up pistachio. But other than that, I think it's really good. I'm really impressed at how well chickpeas worked as a base for an ice cream. The fact that this is made of beans is so crazy and so tasty. I love this. I don't know, maybe I'm just biased. Let's see what Q thinks.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
How's the flavor?
Flavor's good.
Really?
You told me about the almond extract.
Yeah, so it's a little bit almondy.
Too much of that.
Okay.
Other than that, it's pretty good.
Okay.
I'd eat that.
Yeah?
I'd eat that.
Now, if you don't have a Ninja Creamy yet, but you want some simple summer desserts that don't require a lot of ingredients or effort, check out this video here. There's actually a free PDF guide there as well with all of the recipes, so you can just print those out and satisfy your sweet treat summer cravings.